Welcome to the Connor's Corner segment of Ask the Lawyer. You know, a lot of times right now, I get tired of going to movies because every once in a while you might even see a Western, and all of a sudden somebody starts spouting some liberal garbage. But I think we got a film coming out right now where we're not going to hear that. And we're very happy to have Kevin and Sam Sorbo. How are you guys doing today?
That was probably one of the best introductions I've had. Thank you very much.
You may use that.
Okay. So the name of the movie is Let There Be Light. What's it about?
So it's about the world's greatest atheist who has a crisis of faith. Something challenges his worldview, and he has to reconcile that, and it's very difficult for him. So he's kind of spiraled out of control, and he turns to his ex-wife, from whom he's been estranged since the loss of their firstborn. But he is still trying to be a good dad to their second two children. They're two boys. And I play the ex-wife, and my husband Kevin plays this world-traveling, world-renowned atheist. And yeah, you know what? I made the kind of movie that I wanted to see. I don't see a lot of stuff that's coming out of Hollywood because, as you mentioned in the introduction, it's filled with garbage. And in fact, I wrote a book about homeschooling because I'm a homeschool advocate, and there's a chapter in the book called "Poop in the Water," and it refers to, you know, you're thirsty, and I offer you a glass of water, and it's beautiful and crisp clear, and it's dripping, and you're thirsty, and you want it, and as you lift it to your lips, I say, "There's just a little poop in the water. Are you going to drink it?" No, and that's how I feel about a lot of the movies that are coming out of Hollywood. That's just a little poop in the water. I'm just not interested. You know what I mean? So I made a movie that appeals to people of faith who have good, solid values, and this is the kind of movie that they want to see. And they're showing up at the theaters in droves. We have the number 2 per screen box office average, which is pretty cool because there's a little bit of a bias against faith-based films. And by faith-based, I mean Christian cinema in the theaters. So we got the little tiny rinky-dink theaters, even though we're at the AMC multiplexes or whatever, they put us on the 42-seat theater, and we sold out. And our per-screen average is still exceptional. So people are loving the movie. We're very excited about going into this second week and broadening our reach and expanding into more theaters.
Now, can you explain to the audience sometimes the problems that Christian filmmakers may have in distribution?
Well, I think Sam pretty much just kind of said it. I mean, there certainly is a bias there, and it's tough. It's tough to get independent movies in theaters to begin with, because the theater owners would rather put in Star Wars 12 and Indiana Jones 46 and Pirates of the Caribbean 29, and because they know those are big budget movies and people keep going to them. So Hollywood's going to keep making them. And I get it. It's called show business, right? But the reality is, a lot of the movies they're putting out there, if you look at his last weekend, this George Clooney, Matt Damon movie just absolutely bombed. We had a bigger, they're on 2,500 screens. We were on 370. And we had a better screen average than they did. We finished number 10 overall, but number 2, as Sam said, per screen. What's happening is that people are looking for movies like this. I used to, I travel a lot, going through airports. I get stopped all the time. Used to be because of Hercules or Andromeda. Now it's always because of God's Not Dead, What If, Soul Surfer, any one of these movies that I've done in the past, and they say, please make more movies like this. And it just told me there's a hunger out there for movies that are character-driven, that you have characters that people can relate to, they can cry with, they can cheer with, they can fight with, they can go through, because they deal with those same situations in real life. And people are looking for that. And this movie is just coming out now, doing as well as it did, proves that, and now we're going to bump up to 200 more screens this week to get closer to 600 screens, and hopefully people keep showing up, and we'll just keep going upwards with the number of theaters.
Now, changing the subject slightly, Kevin, everybody knows you as an actor, but you're directing this film, or you directed this film?
I directed it, yeah. I started directing back in my Hercules years, actually, but this is my first feature film, and it was great. It was a wonderful experience. We had an amazing crew, and it was fantastic. I was very lucky to work with people in different departments that they know what they're doing, and they did their job great.
What's the challenges of both acting and directing in the same film?
I'm too hard a critic on myself. I don't know.
Okay.
I know when I read scripts, I read them over and over and over, and I break down the scenes, and I'm into it. So to me, I come in with my notes. I know what I want the actors to do, but I'm open to what their suggestions are as well. I'm open to what the director of photography has in mind for the scene, because I have my ideas, but he'll say that doesn't work because of the sun during this time of day, blah, 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 whatever it may be. So to me, I look for people that are easy to work with, because I'm easy to work with, and I shoot quick. I know what I like. I'm a fan of Clint Eastwood. He's a two-take kind of guy, and he makes Academy Award-winning movies and shoots 8-hour days. So I'm a fan of what he does and the way he works. And to me, I don't call the action. I call the cut. But I mean, the action I leave to my first or second AD on the set, because I want to be into the scene when it starts, but I know when I want to cut the scene.
Now, again, there's another challenge that you guys encountered in this film: working with each other. How hard or easy is that to do?
You you caught me a little bit off guard. We've been married almost 20 years. We have a partnership, and it goes across the board. So working together, we bang heads a little bit, but we actually seldom disagree. So when we do, it's heartfelt, and we just work through it. And typically I win, so I'm good with that.
How did the film first come into play? How did you develop the idea? How did it come into fruition?
Well, like I said, I stopped going to the theater to see movies because I was so often disappointed, and then I actually started developing a faith-based television show about 3 years ago because I wanted to see another faith-based show on TV, and I brought that all the way through I sold it. And then they decided not to make it. And so I was sort of tossing around, and I thought of this idea for this movie. And I just thought this would be a great film to see. I would love to see this movie. So I reached out to Dan Gordon, who is a very well-known Hollywood Oscar caliber screenplay writer, and asked him to write it with me. And after initially saying no, because as I said, he's a Oscar-worthy screenplay writer, when he heard the idea, he jumped in with both feet and said, yes, because it's a human drama, and it's a real life type of a thing, and it's got real dramatic moments. And as a writer, you don't often get the opportunity to write those things. And he just believed in the idea behind it and the story behind it and the Christian element that was behind it. And so he jumped in, and then within 2 weeks, completely out of the blue, Sean Hannity called my husband and said, hey, I want to do a movie with you, a faith-based film. Do you have anything? At which point I started jumping up and down. And so Kevin and Dan and I flew to New York and pitched Sean, and within half an hour, he was basically writing us a check. I mean, the genesis of this movie is nothing short of miraculous.
One thing I always had a problem understanding, obviously Hollywood, they're making their films, you're in the system, you're not in the system, whatever. But there are a lot of conservatives out there are a lot of Christians out there who do have money. Why is it so hard for the Christian community, the conservative community, to make films?
It's a good question. I find it interesting. As Sam said, it's very rare that the money chases the project. I've got some amazing scripts that I don't have to direct them all, but I certainly want to act in all of them because I love the parts in them, but I love the story as well, that are in that range of what this movie is. This is a $3 million movie. So in that $2 to $5 million range, there's a risky venture, there's no question. But when you have the budgets at that level, there's a much better chance at least of breaking even to get money back on it. And to me, I'm always shocked at the number of people I meet that are wealthy people. I do a lot of celebrity golf events. I golf with very successful CEOs of companies, and I'm always shocked that they say, "Hey, keep making these movies. These are great." But when I send scripts to them and say, "Hey, let's try to work together," the phone goes silent. So I don't know. I don't know because I've had many pastors through the years tell me, you know what, I'm a pastor at a small church of 300 people. You reach millions. And I go, yeah, but you know what? I need your church and thousands more like you to support these movies. Otherwise, these movies will stop being made. We need that support. So if anybody's out there listening and they want to talk to me, I've got some great scripts of all types, basketball ones, whatever, but they're all family movies. They're faith-based. They put out a strong message. So you asked a tough question that I can't completely answer. I don't quite get why we don't get more support.
Well, I'm going to chime in here because I have a theory. Ask yourself why abortion is a political issue. And I'll tell you why it's a political issue. It's because if they make it a political issue, they can win. Because they can cow you into not discussing it. Or they can cow you into believing that there are two sides. that it's political, and you're being political when you support life. And the fact is that I believe the conservative and Christian community has been duped into thinking that these are political issues. And in the fact that they're political issues and with political correctness, they've been cowed sort of out of the conversation. I know so many conservative Christians who support politicians, right? And they donate to political campaigns, and that's great, but politics is downstream from culture. And if you want to affect the culture, it's through the storytellers. That's why Jesus spoke in parables, because stories move the culture, because they're emotionally engaging. And so that's what we've decided to try to do here, is to move the culture a little bit and to show the Christian conservative viewpoint.
You change culture, it will change politics. No question.
That's right. And what we're discovering, what's fascinating is our movie performed extraordinarily well over the weekend, and so the Hollywood Reporter, in reporting on the box office over the weekend, ignored it.
It's kind of like the New York Times bestseller list, but what can you say?
You can say this. You can say, I want everybody who's listening right now to make a statement and go to the theaters this weekend or during the week even and show up and buy a ticket and send a message to Hollywood that you will not be silenced just because they are trying to ignore you.
Can you tell the audience again why it's important to see a film in its beginning weeks?
Oh my gosh! Well, of course, the opening weekend it tells the tale. The opening weekend sets the entire tone. In theory, I should be looking at lots of great reviews of the film and great stories about what a success this is. This little tiny David of a film took on the Goliath of Hollywood, and we won, and all that. But we're not seeing that because they want to quash it. They want to silence us, and I'm here to tell you that they can't silence us as long as people go to the theaters. So we are expanding. We're opening in more theaters. You can go to lettherebelightmovie.com to find theaters near you. And if for some reason you don't have a theater near you, you can go to the lettherebelightmovie.com and figure out either how to do group ticket sales to get a theater near you to open, or just call your local theater and say, hey, why aren't you carrying this film? Because I'll tell you, there's a bit of a threshold with theaters even in taking on faith-based films. They raise the threshold and they say, no, you have to jump through these hoops if you're a faith-based film, unlike the normal sort of horror flick or thriller or slicer or blow 'em up, bang 'em up, shoot 'em up flick. They have a higher bar for the faith-based movies. And I'll tell you something, Hollywood used to make faith-based movies. That's all Hollywood made. The old movies would all be considered faith-based movies today. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington would be considered a faith-based movie today because it exhibits traditional Judeo-Christian values. And so would It's a Wonderful Life. So that's what we're trying to do here. And I have a plan to continue making these films, but and I'm happy to do it independently. In fact, I would prefer to do it independently because I don't want Hollywood's opinion all over my film. But my film's only independent until it gets to theaters, and then it's very dependent on people showing up.
What's disturbing about listening to you, Sam, is that in effect you're saying it's not that Hollywood is indifferent to Christianity, but that it is anti-Christian.
You sound like that's news.
Yeah, well, I'm just bringing that out.
Yeah, look at what's coming out of Hollywood. Do you think Harvey Weinstein is indifferent to Christianity, or do you think he's anti-Christianity?
That's a very good point.
I mean, I know what he would say, right? He said, I didn't know it was wrong. Of course he knew it was wrong. He just didn't believe in wrong. He didn't believe that there was wrong and right.
That's true. Do you have guys any opinion about
go ahead.
Kevin Spacey and what's coming out now?
Yeah, so I've been swamped, so I haven't read up on that, but I heard that there was an allegation for which Kevin Spacey apologized. And I think that time will tell if that was a pattern or a single incident in which he misbehaved. With Christianity, there's such a thing as forgiveness, but when it becomes serial behavior like Harvey Weinstein, where he did it repeatedly and then paid to have it away repeatedly, it's not that he didn't know it was wrong, it's that he didn't believe that there was such a thing as wrong. He didn't care. We are facing today a clash of worldviews, and it's about time that the Judeo-Christian community wake up and understand that it's not an indifference to, it is an against the Judeo-Christian values. When they took the Bible out of schools, they did not remove religion. They replaced Judeo-Christianity with secular humanism, which holds that survival of the fittest is the law of the land. And survival of the fittest is exactly what Harvey Weinstein practices. And so if you hold that survival of the fittest is the law of the land, then you really don't have an argument against what Harvey Weinstein did. Because if you think that it's wrong to accost young women, I would like to see your moral standard for that. Where is it written down somewhere? Who has the moral standard that says that it's wrong?
What if Harvey Weinstein were a conservative?
What if you were?
Do you think there'd be a difference?
Oh, in the reaction to him? Not
Yes.
by me.
Okay.
I suppose I'd be a little bit more shocked. But we look. The conservative side has people that also don't hold up the moral standard. Absolutely, it's not that he's the only guy out there. It's that he represents a whole group of people. Some of whom would come from the other side of the aisle. Maybe I'm not saying that they don't exist, but I am saying that if you hold to Judeo-Christian ethic, you tend to treat people better.
All right. Well, God bless you guys for what you're doing. The name of the movie, Let There Be Light.
Go to lettherebelightmovie.com. You can find out all the information. You can see a trailer. You can see our testimonials videos. See what people are saying when they come out of the theater and see if that doesn't entice you to go to the theater. And if that doesn't, then just go because you want to send a message to Hollywood.
Kevin and Sam, God bless you. Hope the film
Thank
does
you.
well. Everybody go out and see it as soon as you can. You buy tickets even if you're not going to go see it. But we want the film to do well, to send a message, and thank you guys for the work that you're doing.
Thanks.